Hello and welcome back to the Full Fat Podcast. I'm joined as ever by Charlie Lilly and Terry Merkin, but no Harry Bag this week. Sorry to say.
Aww.
A couple of updates before we dive straight into episode 2 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. The Clone Wars reviews will be coming back as a mainstay. We're not going to drop doing those. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks. What with the end of WandaVision, we started filming these podcasts, and also the Snyder Cut, and then straight into Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's been crazy. But after that, we're going to continue doing Clone Wars videos. Also, the audio for last week's podcast episode, I'm sorry it's not up yet. We've had some technical issues, but I am going to be dropping it at the same time as the audio for this episode. So if you want to go back or, do a little double bill of both these episodes, knock yourself out. And I apologise that it wasn't there sooner. Anyway.
Those poor people who are going to get a double bill of us.
I know. I can barely stand an hour, let alone 2.
Yeah, bloody hell.
In real life.
Yeah, I can't wait for these things to end, to be honest. Just have to get through them.
How long we got? I think we've recorded about 2 minutes on audition, so I think that's long enough. We can start wrapping things up.
Yeah, I think it's been a good episode already.
Yeah.
We've introduced ourselves and we've left. That's all the people need.
We went on a journey,
yeah,
and that's
deep
all that
analysis.
matters. But of course, the journey continued for Sam and Bucky this week. What did we think? Was it an improvement on last week's episode? Did it continue in a manner that you thought was satisfactory? Are you enjoying it? And where do you think it's going to go next week? Big questions.
Can you ask them all again? There was so
what
many.
What did you think of the episodes?
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And the show is going exactly where I want it to, but also not in a way that I'm expecting. I'm loving that John Walker isn't already immediately someone to dislike. I think that's the hardest thing for the characters to face, that John Walker would actually be, so far, as we know, a good, person to fill that role of Captain America in terms of, he seems to have a very similar heart, and, well, as far as we know. I loved all that.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it's very interesting.
Just on John Walker,
yeah.
Before we get into all the other stuff I'm sure you're going to say.
Yeah.
John Walker, I just think it's really interesting what you said about, we know he's a good man. We've seen that there's a lot of pressure and a lot of duty and responsibility in his first scene, and he's trying to live up to the pressures of that. And he does seem like a nice guy. He does seem like he wants to get to know Sam and Bucky. He wants to genuinely help them. But then we had that little moment at the end of the episode where he was like, well, if you're not going to help me, stay out of my way. And I'm thinking that, coupled with the fact that he's using a gun, he was a bit more brutal from the off in the action scenes. Like, I think at this stage, it could go either way. I think we're either going to get like a tragic story with John Walker where you really wanted him to do the right thing and he just fell short of the mark, or I think he's going to end up being an absolute see you next Tuesday.
Yes, I agree.
See, I was going to bring up the gun thing because it was just really unsettling to see Captain America with a gun. Have we seen Captain America with a gun before?
During the war.
Yeah, and then he uses a rifle in Avengers, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't mind it too much for like the World War II era, because it's like he's literally fighting a war. But I think after that, I prefer
seeing the new Captain America with a firearm was just so not what Captain America is. It is definitely what America is, but it's not what Captain America is. And for me, that felt really unsettling to watch.
But I think everything about him has been like Captain America in aesthetic, and for the cameras, he's the perfect Captain America. But in essence and in mantra, and all the core principles behind the original Captain America are not there. Like, I love the bit where he says, "Oh, hacking Red Wing isn't really hacking because Red Wing and you are government property," and then he points at himself. And he's quite happy to say, "I'm government property too." Like that's what Captain America is, right? It's like a mouthpiece for the government and their views. And of course, that's not what Captain America ever should be about. And I think at the same time, the show is... Sorry, Charlie, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to jump on that and say what I like about that is that he comes across more like the comic book version of Captain America in terms of, he's very much he's the government's kind of man that does his jobs, very American, very patriotic, whereas obviously the Captain America that we've got from the movies has been very different to that. He's, he, like it's keeping with the theme, and what I like about this show is that it's keeping with the theme of the Winter Soldier movie, in the sense that it feels very 3 Days of the Condor, in terms of it's about not trusting the government necessarily, but also working with them and for them, and I just really like that. It feels an extension of that. Yeah.
Nothing's black and white at the moment.
Yes, no.
Because even Zemo's role, I think they're going to expand upon, the most sympathetic aspects of his character in Civil War, and then obviously we've got the Flag Smashers, who are... I thought it was really nice to portray them as heroes to the characters that believe in them. Do you know what I mean? In that guy sort of gives them safe passage, and he puts them up for the night, and he's going like, oh, you guys are so amazing, and we've got all this food and clean bedding. And it's like, yeah, like, if that's your Cap, then you would treat them like that. Do you know what I mean? It's only because they've been coded as the bad guys from the off in the show that you're like, oh my god, I wouldn't want to be in the same room as these super strong super soldiers. They'll kick my ass.
Exactly.
But that's what makes a good villain, doesn't it? Someone who's so believes in and so convicted that they're correct. And like they don't think I'm a villain, I'm going to do bad things. They think they're ultimately right and they're doing the right thing. And I think you can really see that with this group. Also, the lead girl is also in Solo, and it took me so long to figure out that it was Solo she was in and not another Avengers movie. And I was there as soon as I saw her, like, I remember her from another movie. And I was trying to think what movie it was, and then I reminded myself that it was Solo. It wasn't even in the MCU, and I'm an idiot. So
but she was playing a freedom fighter.
Yeah, very interestingly,
so
quite a similar character in that sense.
So I just got very confused. I'd just woken up and put it straight on. So.
It's hard with some of these podcasts because, like, you want to hit Falcon Winter Soldier as soon as it drops. So as soon as we get up, we're like, oh, right, time for Falcon, time for the pod.
We're like injecting coffee into our veins so that we can do it for you.
I don't know about you
the
guys,
podcast won't be out for ages. So.
I am still feeling the cold, like that. It's just seemed to have been going around.
Yeah.
Like,
Mine's slowly going.
It's not Corona, thankfully, because we're sneezing. Yes.
It's not Corona.
Yes.
It's not Corona. We all get tested.
It's weird to get a cold now, though, because I feel like, I'm someone that, gets colds, in the winter seasons particularly, obviously, and then it's just not really happened because we've not been outdoors as much and interacting with people. It's been nice, but then as soon as you've gotten the cold, you're like, oh, this is what this feels like.
Yeah, you're like, I forgot what it's like to breathe. Yeah.
It's like when Catwoman disappears, he's like, so what's that feels like?
That's funny.
So funny. Back to Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yes. I think every villain thinks they're doing good, and it's really a case of whether or not the piece of media you're watching is going to give you enough of their perspective to show that they think they're doing good. And this show so far has done that with all the sort of characters that we don't quite trust yet. Do you know what I mean? Like John Walker and the Flag Smashers, I'm like, where is this going to go? What are they going to do?
Yep, and I'm really enjoying like how well it's paced, because I feel like we're getting a lot of people's perspectives. Like we're getting Sam and Bucky's, we're getting John Walker's, and we're getting the Freedom Fighter characters. I forgot what they called again. The Flag Smashers, did you say?
The Flag Smashers. Yeah.
And I feel like we're spending a good amount of we're spending a really good amount of time with them. And I really like how it's every time we're seeing them, it's like we're being sympathetic to them. They're not really being shown as like cold-blooded killers or anything. I do feel like there's going to be some sort of reveal later that will make you even feel even more sympathetic to them. And I feel like there will be not like I feel like Zemo will kind of take the place maybe as like the worse than them, or someone will. It feels like at the moment.
Yes. But it's exciting, isn't it? Because at the moment it's like pieces on the board where they're going to go, rather than like, the Mandalorian is far less story driven. Of course. And it's more about like, oh, in this half an hour, what set piece are we going to get? Whereas this is completely character driven.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even really need the action set piece this week, as good as it was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the plot was what was pulling us along left and right. As well, that whole uninterrupted segment, which I think was the best part of the episode, was when Bucky took Sam to meet Isiah, who we had never seen before. And the way that scene played out was so interesting. I don't know about you guys, but for me it was like, he's met this guy, we're learning about him, okay, so he fought in the 50s, he took out the Winter Soldier. Oh, okay, so he must have been part of some like, you know, I mean, some outfit, they like took him out of a rocket launcher or something. Because obviously you can't get close to the Winter Soldier, right? He's a super soldier. And then you find out that he got dropped there, and the way he describes it, you're like, oh, it sounds like he got dropped on Bucky by himself. That's weird. I wonder how he took him out all by himself. This guy must be a badass. And then you're like, oh, then he says that he took his arm off and all this stuff, and you're like, wow, that sounds like he got real up close and personal. And then, of course, he reveals he's a super soldier. He throws the object into the wall. I was like, oh my god. And it all filters back in to Sam's choice to give up the shield. You know, like, once again, we've been shown that, yeah, it's all well and good to put the white blonde guy with blue eyes up on stage for a football game and keep things exactly the way they were since the 40s with Steve Rogers. But in fact, America and the government have tried to sweep under the rug a black Captain America before. Yep. Someone who took out the Winter Soldier long before the movie The Winter Soldier, like 50, 60 years. And he doesn't get any medals for it. His life was completely ruined. And then that 1-2 punch, to come out of the back of that and to see Sam rightfully get angry about it, and then the cops just turn up out of nowhere, and we get that perspective. I think it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable watching this, and it's absolutely for the right reasons. You know, like, Captain America the show should be a commentary and critique of the state of America.
100%.
And I think it's absolutely doing that.
And I think it's so effective because it's not like it's not trying to teach you or get your opinion on anything. All it is doing is saying this is the experience of millions of black Americans and black people around the world. This is their experience, even at a superhero level. And like, I think that's just so powerful, and it really is uncomfortable to watch because you know that it's wrong, and if you don't feel outraged, then you've got a problem. Like, it is.
It's fantastic to do that.
Piece, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, because as well. Oh, sorry.
I just love that they've just not shied away from it. I just love that they're not shied away from, like, the race issues, because I think they easily could have, as a Disney show. I mean, and we haven't really delved into any of these issues in the other movies in the MCU, and I just
Black Panther.
Oh, sorry, yeah, apart from Black Panther, but you know what I'm saying?
Apart from Black Panther.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah,
I know what you mean though.
You know
that, like,
I mean,
this sphere of the MCU, like the Captain America movies, they've been headlined by Chris Evans, so of course they were never going to get into this. But now that we have Mackie, you know, as we said in the last week, it can't just be the same show with Mackie replacing Chris Evans. You know, it needs to like be bespoke to the experiences of the character. And I also loved that he's getting treated like crap by the cops, and then they do that thing that the bank teller did where they realise he's the Falcon and suddenly, they're treating him like really nicely. But not only that, it's more for me the subtler moments in the episode. Like later on, when they're coming out of therapy, John Walker puts the police siren on, and he gives this grin of like, oh, put the police siren on to get your attention. That's funny, isn't it? And it's not funny for Sam Wilson. That's like a threat, isn't it? That's like, oh shit, I need to keep alert because I've heard a police siren. Oh, it's John Walker, it's okay. Like, he doesn't understand the context of that at all. But of course, Sam does, and now the audience, even if you are like a white person, you can understand, oh, I remember that scene from earlier where, you know, I realised how terrifying that is. So, like, you know, the police siren suddenly means something completely different in the context of that later scene. Fantastic. And also, the way that Bucky is treated so nicely about actually being arrested versus Sam just being angry, like the night and day difference. And like the way that he's being arrested, there's no like debate. He's being arrested and they're still going to him, oh, well, you know, it's because you didn't do this. And like, technically it's because of this.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like, as if they're like his parents and they're like letting him down gently, when they gave Sam none of that.
Yeah.
Like seconds before.
I think it's really great that like Marvel are having these conversations, because previously they've had a lot of the black best friend trope. You know,
yes.
we had War Machine, we had Anthony Mackie, you know, and up until Black Panther, we hadn't had a black lead. We'd only had the black best friend. Sorry, my cold is coming in full force.
Oh, don't worry, it's gonna... I'm fighting it with every fibre of my being.
So phlegmy, it's cute. Also, I'm gonna just drop this in now. Earlier, you may have heard hummus in the background. It's because I left my notifications on my other laptop, so I'm really sorry if you hear that in the background. That's my
I thought you meant like you could just hear hummus.
You can hear the hummus. No, it's literally someone saying hummus. in a sensual voice. So you may have heard that a few times. I managed to mute it. So sorry about that.
Sorry, continue with your point.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was. I think I got it all out. I think that I was saying that it's really good to see the journey of the of Marvel and these discoveries that they're making. And my hope is, like, we can see they're diversifying their cast. My hope is that they're diversifying themselves behind the scenes so that we can get, you know, fully fleshed out characters of all different cultures.
And I think it's so important that Marvel are doing this and Disney are doing this because, you know, they're going to reach the biggest amount of audience than anyone. You know what I mean? Like, have any other, you know, studio or franchise, you know, this is going to reach the next generation of children that are going to grow up watching this and hopefully, you know, going to learn from these issues that are being addressed in the show. That's why I think it's like incredibly important that they're doing this. I just all round, I was not expecting this show to just not only give me the buddy cop, which we got to get into, of the duo between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but also like they're just dealing with like actual issues and like putting a lens on America itself, and like trying to figure out. And I just think that's so great, and I feel like it's the risks that I was hoping that Marvel, the MCU, would take after post Endgame. And it's what they need to do.
I think what you said about it being for a new generation, I think it's so important to say, oh, you know, if you're a black kid watching, oh, the Falcon has experiences that are similar to your experiences. Just because he's a superhero doesn't mean like he's not just like you.
Yeah.
And then for anyone who's not a black kid watching, it's like, oh, you might like the Falcon, but you should know that he has to experience things that you maybe don't have to experience in your life, and here's why that matters. And as you say, like it's just giving it a stake in the MCU and a reason to be beyond just let's just keep churning out 20 movies at a time. You know, like this has become something that out of all the MCU things, I hope, you know, when all is said and done, people will go, you need to watch Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
You know
and it feels
you
like
can skip Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like it's becoming an essential story in the MCU. Like, not only do we have that, we're also like last week, where understanding, you know, who's paying these guys. There's questions being asked that we're like, oh, what's going on here? I don't know. I'm blown away so far by the series. It's given me everything I could have ever wanted so far. I'm loving the dynamic. I thought that scene where they both have to take therapy together and they're staring at each other, like, I just thought that was so hilarious.
Yes.
And it's just exactly.
It was a really good way of. Sorry, that scene was just such a good way of like relieving the tension without going from a really intense scene to like a really happy scene, do you know?
Yeah.
It had a really nice middle ground, and I found myself like relaxing and laughing after like the tension beforehand. So.
And a purpose to
all the Lethal Weapon stuff. Yeah. All the Lethal Weapon stuff of like them bickering, like when they were hiding behind, like, you know, waiting for the flag smashers to go, and they were working out whether they should hurt them, and, you know, Bucky's like, oh well, you know, there's 2 of them, and, you know, he's like, oh well, I've got Red Wing, and there's actually 4 of them. Like, that was all great, and I like that. It's not just like bickering for the sake of bickering, you know. It's not like these 2 are just, you know, getting off on some misunderstandings so that they can punch for a bit, and then, you know, it all will be said and done. They'll be fine. Like, they've actually got proper grievances. Bucky has a real tangible reason to be disappointed in Sam for not taking up the shield, and Sam has a legitimate reason to not want to take it up in the first place. So all of that's interacting with each other, and I loved that scene, the therapy scene, not only because the staring contest was funny, but then afterwards we got that great line where Bucky's like, maybe he was wrong about you, and if he was wrong about you, that means he was wrong about me. And that just recontextualizes like his whole journey in the MCU, because you have to think about every single time the government was hunting him, disavowing him, blaming him, and, you know, every time someone like Tony Stark wanted to kill him for hurting his mum, when it's never been Bucky's fault. He was literally controlled against his will. He never gave his consent to be Hydra's assassin. But now it just recontextualizes all that into, oh, this whole time I thought that I was still a good person because Steve Rogers thought I was a good person, and he was willing to fight tooth and claw
and he was the only one
to get me out.
He was the only one, and I think that's what's so good.
Now,
he's not around, is he?
If he's wrong, and if he's wrong, then If he's wrong about Falcon, then maybe he's wrong about me. Maybe I am a killer. Maybe, and and that then plays into the line with Isiah being like, "Oh, I suppose you think you can just reinvent yourself when you wake up. It's easy for you people to do that. But for me, when I was Captain America, that just haunted me for the rest of my days."
Yeah.
And he was tested on, and I just
It's just heartbreaking, the Isiah story.
I can't wait to see that character again.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
There was a black super soldier, and they just hid him away. They just hid him away and did tests on him, and I can't even express how much it upsets me.
And like you said,
more of it's going to come out though.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it makes sense that the Falcon it's just proving himself right with why he didn't take up the shield. And I like that he had that scene with in the therapy room where he says he says something along the lines of I know my decision was the right decision, you don't understand. And it's good because we know as an audience what he's talking about, but he's not sitting there saying it's because of this, because of that.
Yeah.
And I just think it's incredibly written so far. I'm just having a blast, and not only that, we're getting some great action set pieces with them on top of the two trucks, and I love that they just sort of get their ass kicked, and John Walker turns up and saves them. And I like when Bucky's after's he's like, well, you see, you should have kept the shield. Look how helpful that was just then. That was great.
Yeah, it's been giving me the Lethal Weapon buddy cop banter. It's been giving me, Sam taking up the mantle. It's been giving me Bucky's PTSD. John Walker, everything with that has been really intriguing so far. And now, the final moment of the episode, Zemo. Daniel Bruhl is back, baby. One of the best villains of the MCU, and he is going to wreak havoc, I'm sure. I'm so excited. Everything that's folding in. And then, presumably next week, Sharon Carter.
Yeah.